Yeah,
Yes,
we
you
just,
can
yeah.
move the agenda around.
Sure. All right, folks, we'll call the meeting to order. Before we start, this is the April 9th, 2024 work session of the Mayor and City Council of the City of Frostburg. Just like take one quick minute. Most of us know this, but we did lose a very dear friend this morning. Former Chief Bill Evans passed at his home very early this morning. So I'd like to keep him in everyone's prayers, as well as all our other retired police officers, because unfortunately we're not any of us getting any younger. So I just wanted to throw that out. We'll skip over consent discussion. Let's do roll call, and then we'll move to council meeting topics, please.
Commissioner Donnie Carter,
Here.
Commissioner Nina Forsyth,
Here.
Commissioner Kevin Grove,
Here.
Commissioner Adam Ritchie,
Here.
and Mayor Robert Flanagan.
Here. So just go to the council meeting stuff first.
Okay.
Okay.
Elaine has your budget for you.
Okay.
So today what I would like to do is just recap the highlights of what has changed in the budget from the draft version that we discussed last month to what will be presented as the budget ordinance at your meeting next week. So just in summary, we have balanced all the funds compared to last month. So we have accomplished that by either reducing expenses, use of fund balance in some instances as well. So we did an overall decrease in budgeted expenses of about $358,000 between the draft budget and the budget ordinance. We did use fund balance to balance in the corporate fund and the sewer fund. So the biggest change I'd like to point out was within the water fund, which is where we had the greatest shortfall. Was reduced the filtration plant expenses to the greatest extent, mainly by postponing the desire for a mechanical gate at the water treatment plant. So that is how we balanced the water fund. Just to highlight, this budget includes maintaining the real estate tax rate that we have this current year. No change in utility rates other than the garbage rate going up $1 per quarter per unit. Within the corporate fund, as we've talked about before, we're always very conservative with our revenue estimates. So while we do have use of fund balance in this version of the budget to balance it, and that's only about $173,000, because we're conservative with our revenue estimates, I would anticipate by the time we come to an amended budget at the end of next year that we will not have needed use of that fund balance.
Okay.
So a few changes that were made in the draft budget. We did revise the salt storage facility cost based on the bids that were received. And similarly, the comprehensive plan, again, based on bids received, we increased that line item, although I did not increase the ARPA allocation for the comprehensive plan. So the difference between what was budgeted for ARPA and the projected cost right now is budgeted out of general government revenues. A few other changes to note in the budget ordinance compared to the draft. This version includes an increase in professional fees and the executive department budget in the corporate fund, with the proposal that you will discuss today for ongoing lobbying efforts. We increased the tourism contributions based on your discussion last month of an allocation for the Western Rail and Scenic Railroad, MCCA's request, and the Palace Theater raised the roof pledge that we had made in this fiscal year, but based on communication with the Palace, that will not be needed until next fiscal year. Also, in the street department budget, we did remove the amount that had been requested for equipment to clear snow from the sidewalks, which was one of those special projects we discussed at the end. So those are the main changes that you would see in the budget, the draft version compared to the budget ordinance. So you will see from the condensed summary, we have total budgeted expenses for next fiscal year at just shy of $19 million. So among the fee schedule changes, the change that was made in this version, there was a request from the street department that we increase the special pickup fee from $50 a load to $75 a load. So that is reflected in this version of the fee schedule. And we also included a line item for open cut permits, which were not explicitly stated in the fee schedule. They had been, as Bethany could advise, they were considered like a minor grading permit. So we're not changing the fee, we're just making the presentation more explicit, and that's on page 7, I believe, of the fee schedule. So if you have any questions about the budget, I'd be glad, to discuss in more detail at your request. Otherwise, that's the overall, high-level summary. So we would present that first reading next week at the council meeting, and then we do not have to have a constant yield public hearing based on the new guidance from the state.
Very good. Very good. Anybody have questions?
You did it again.
Yes, Elaine, thank you
You're welcome.
very much. All right. Since Jeff's with us, we'll back up to item 3.1. So Jeff, the floor is yours.
Thank you.
No greetings from Allegheny County or anything like that?
Greetings from Allegheny. Greetings from on high. Yeah. Now, you're on high. We're coming from the valley.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's okay.
You are being recorded.
Okay. I didn't say anything dumb yet, did I?
No.
We'll let you do it and then we'll tell you. How's that?
So basically, yeah, why I'm coming here this afternoon is basically a kind of an idea at this point, and we want to try to run it by you, the mayor, and the commissioners at hand to see what your appetite is for something we've kind of been working on for a couple of years now. Allegheny County's Economic Development Office has been working with a number of businesses, as has the staff at Frostburg too, namely the Appetit building, the Diamond building, and what else is there? Pritchard, yeah, that's the latest one that's come to us, and we've been trying to stack money, to have projects go, and these projects are kind of underwater many times when we're doing them, and the inflationary environment that has happened over the last couple of years now, that loans are up over 8%, and it's just making that gap larger and larger. So I'll give credit where credit is due. Adam Strott from our office, he couldn't be here today. He's out of town on another matter, but he kind of said, well, what about, TIF financing? And we talked about, also brought Jason Bennett in, and then Elizabeth as well, about that. We would look at a TIF district basically from Center Street, would exclude the 7-Eleven, going up Main Street all the way up to Water Street, and include all those buildings on both sides of the road. And Adam has done some crunching of numbers just to see what that would do. And I think the other thing we talked about was,
Can you go back and just do a basic overview of what a TIF is?
yeah, so
I
a
have
TIF,
no idea.
yeah. So it's usually a tool for government in a situation like this, where we're having trouble putting private equity and borrowing together. It's where a municipality or a county can, by whatever tool they need to, they can borrow money or use cash on hand to put out there that's available as part of the stacking mechanism. It won't solely fund these projects, but it'd be really great to push that kind of a funding into the mix on these projects.
To make certain grants available that require matching funds, or
Well, it's not even that in this case. So we'd have private equity that would be putting stuff in. The county is flirting with the idea of putting things in as well. We were looking at private financing too, if we can. That's where the rates went from like 5 to 6% to 7, 8, 9%. So we're trying to see if we can push another piece of funding in there to take up the gap. And the theory is, so all when we define the TIF boundary that I've described, you would kind of, in theory, lock in the value of all those today. So obviously, like Pritchard Building is not very valuable. Of what it could be, the potential is not there because of the condition it's in. And you have other buildings like that too, Diamond and Appetit, all those. So the theory is you lock them in today when that happens, and then the investment happens, and then those assessments will rise. The good thing about not just picking one off at a time and hoping they go up is if you identify a TIF district, all those buildings within the TIF will take advantage of, and get higher assessments. And those are just 3 of the examples. I think there's more that will come in as well to try to take advantage of the program to do that. And the county, in essence, you would be, in theory, the assessments would go up, so that would kind of go back in to the general fund to show that you're paying back the money you lent out. The county is also willing to participate because we think this is really important to bring this Main Street up to standards. We would also put our tax, lock it in, same as the city of Frostburg, and then we would have that money go back in to the coffers as well.
So it's somewhat similar. I'll back up. Frostburg did do, it's not common for a jurisdiction the size of Frostburg to do a TIF. It's usually Baltimore City or larger jurisdictions, just because there is an administrative burden that comes with it. However, the city did do a TIF in the early 2000s when they when Jenkins developed Bishop Murphy Drive. And the TIF in that case financed the road and the stormwater, so the public infrastructure. That's what TIFs are most commonly used for. But in 2013, the state of Maryland passed the Sustainable Communities Act. So now in Maryland, you can use a TIF to finance historic building development within the sustainable community. So the precedent's there. But then the mechanism is somewhat similar to the RETSA, except we're loaning the money out and then we're paying ourselves back rather than
Very well said.
rather than in the RETSA case, the developer has to upfront it and then we pay them back over the 10-year increment, but that goes on until 2045. This, there would be we haven't gotten into the logistics or details of what it would look like, the process would be to loan it out, but it would more or less, we're issuing bonds to these business owners, and or building owners, there'd be very tight guidelines of when they need to start work, when the work needs to be completed by, and it's only a finite amount of money, and if they don't meet those benchmarks, we claw the money back. But Adam and Jeff's office did do, based on what the property assessment in that defined TIF in Frostburg, in the last 2 years, the assessments have gone up 18%. So that seemed like a very high benchmark. So he looked at Baltimore Street instead, and that's a little over 8%. So based on, the next 2 years, it goes 8%, and then the increase goes down over several years. And every building, the rising tide raises all ships theory.
Yes.
So you're not only, the Pritchard building, let's just say it goes from $20,000 to $2 million in assessable base, and then you discount the actual investment to what it might be assessed for. So not only are you
Is
setting...
that what the tax increment part comes in?
Yes. So you set aside that difference in taxes that you're collecting to pay yourself back, but it's every other business. So the building next door maybe goes up 5% because all of Main Street's better.
Sure, yeah.
And then that 5% increase goes into the till to pay the city back on these loans. So rough payback period, 10 to 15 years.
At least 10, that's what I was going to say. At least 10 years payback. And again, the county is, we're willing to be subordinate in this of payback and then look at the 10 years plus, and we're all gonna get a payback out of
Sure.
this eventually
Right.
over time. And it's kind of like with the government, I think that's from our point of view, it's like, when does government get involved? You know, only when the private industry can't do it itself, and this is us reinvesting in ourselves, long term.
Well, like you just mentioned, you mentioned interest rates, which we're all very aware of, but just the cost of materials, cost of labor,
Yeah,
cost of this, cost of that. In the last 3 years, Donnie and I talked about this at length. It's what, we're up 30%, 40% construction costs easily.
yes,
So it's scary.
it really
It's
is.
scary. I mean, even if you just need to do some renovations to something in your, existing business, it's become very, very, and you can't raise your prices 30, 40% to offset that, so.
The other piece of this that I did want to mention is kind of more motivation to really do this is, we have some of those businesses and buildings some of them took on, which is good, they got awarded historic tax credits. And they've basically paid their fee to have those, so we wouldn't want to lose those. We would want to be able to, while we have them, let's put them into a project. And the same thing with the Pritchard building, they were able to get funding through FSU that's sitting there as part of the funding stack as well. So it's great, it would be great to be able to utilize those monies while they're there, because they could disappear in the future.
We haven't delved deep into like the logistics of how this one would work. We just wanted to talk to you, and see if you liked it in concept for us to, do further research and kind of come up with a more finite plan of costs. The city's in a unique position, because of the ARPA funding. We've been able to, a lot of money the past 2 years, not a lot, but a significant chunk
for
of
sure.
money the past few years has ended up going into reserves instead of us using fund balance or the end of the year being zero. There's been a significant chunk of money that's gone into fund balance, which puts the general fund well above the 33 to 50% ratio or
Yeah.
benchmark that we try to achieve. So I think in talking with Elaine and the initial guesstimate that the county's put together of the need, of what, based on known discussions we've had, is around 1.4 million. I think preliminarily we could finance that ourselves. So rather than having to, what we're foregoing interest instead of paying interest. Right now we have a really great interest rate that's close to 5.
Oh, wow, that is good.
There's the juxtaposition, right?
5 years ago,
That's
we
how it
were
works.
lucky at what point?
0 something.
Yes.
0.15.
Now, it's not going to stay at 5 forever, as we all know. That 10 years, I mean, it's going to, at some point, hopefully for all of us, that inflationary costs come down. Although we know, like sometimes when a physical product, construction things, food.
Well, you can stretch them over 6 more months.
Yeah, but it's kind of like
Yeah.
those prices don't fall.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
They'll just be
Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah, even if you said, hey, let's push this project back, which we've all tried to do, we tried to garner some stuff, figuring that, you're still gonna have a 3 to 6 month window before Lowe's is gonna lower the price on it too.
Yes.
So,
But the other piece of that too is, if you don't do anything with these buildings that are in really bad shape, they're not going to get any better.
no, sure, yeah, time is the essence.
I mean, these buildings have all been in the situation they're in some form or fashion for 10 plus
A
years
decade
now.
plus, yes.
And if it didn't happen in, 2015 where we did 15 ribbon cuttings in 1 year or something, with today's, just the cost,
Yeah, that makes sense.
it's,
Yeah, I was wondering where we're gonna get the money, the rest of the money they're gonna need for the Pritchard building, cause what was it, they got 500,000?
a little more.
They might got a
Well,
7 to 750.
That's gonna need millions.
We actually had a meeting with Brandon at the county and kind of tried to lay out what, he has a loan too that is amazing for me, that somebody gave him a 30-year term.
Huh.
On commercial fund.
Yeah, and so we're trying to figure out what other monies, that was kind of, for us, it was the thing that made us push into this, because we thought, look at the gap that he has, it's a significant gap.
Yeah.
We can put other types of money in, but there's still a gap. And then you start thinking, well, maybe a TIF could be another piece that goes in there, to push, to make it happen. And he has a tenant that's kind of laid out for us too, which is good.
Yeah.
And I mean, being in the position of doing the TIF, if you're interested, it gives staff the opportunity to fully vet their pro forma for the building.
Yes.
So unlike some of these grant programs where, you know, I mean, the grant programs we deal with are small potatoes, but where you're just, you know, okay, you want to do this, go do it. This is, we're using the Economic Development's office's knowledge to make sure that this is even a viable project at the end of the day, and not just sinking money into something that's going to continue to sit vacant.
Yes, well said. Yeah, we would put performance together with all the projects and make sure it makes sense. Have different thresholds and check-in points and, you know, a process, if you will, of how things work.
What questions do you
Any
have?
questions?
Elaine, you're not feeling too nervous about it, or?
So the county would take the lead on everything leading up to it. So like we wouldn't be vetting the projects or.
I think we'd handle the financial lead and they'd handle the project lead.
Yes. We definitely want the city to take the lead in leading the effort, but the county is in full support of that, and most likely financially as well. But then, like you said, we do it all the time, vet projects and pro formas, so we would definitely do that.
All right.
Is that something you're all agreeable with us doing more research and coming back to you? All right.
Yeah, we're not gonna do anything without, you know, your acceptance and approval of that here.
Well, we help sell it. That's the thing, so I appreciate you coming up with that.
Yeah,
Yeah, good stuff.
you're welcome.
Thanks, Jeff.
Yeah.
You can leave or you can hang out for
Because you
exciting
enjoy
work
meetings
session.
so much.
See how
Yeah,
we do things here.
We don't do the ice cream till the end.
I'll stick around for a little bit,
Okay, perfect.
if you'll have me.
Sure, you're more than welcome. All right, we can jump down to 4.2 then, and that would be Miss Bethany.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. So at the end of January, we put out an RFP to select a consultant for our comprehensive plan. That's mandated by the state of Maryland. Every Maryland municipality has to have one, and it spans 10 years. So we did receive 3 proposals. We asked the applicants to submit their technical proposal separately from their price proposal. We put together a review committee of 6 members, and that was comprised of city department heads, and then also we had representation from the Planning Commission and the Board of Zoning Appeals. So I have copies of all of the proposals that were received here if you would like to look at them.
If you'd like to
But
do that,
the
right?
one that staff is recommending, and that all of the reviewers are recommending, belongs to Wallace Montgomery. This is what their technical proposal looks like. It's pretty substantial. And then Elizabeth has the breakdown of all of these scores that were received and the price proposals. You will notice that, well, first you may notice that Wallace Montgomery received perfect scores from all 6 reviewers.
Yeah,
So that, I
that's
think, is a
significant.
testament to the quality of the proposal that they submitted. We had some pretty tough graders in the group, and everybody was super impressed with their proposal. You will also notice that their proposal comes in a bit higher than we had budgeted for. You all had agreed to allocate $150,000 of ARPA funding towards this project, even though it is the highest price, I do feel that, and everyone seems to feel that, it's going to be in the best interest of the city to go with them. And Elizabeth, if you'd like to
Sure.
jump in.
So Bethany did the request for proposals based on various criteria, and I, assured her that price isn't the determining factor. for several years now, we haven't really had an actionable comprehensive plan, because we've completed all the tasks in the 2011 comp plan. But when I started in 2012, I did have actionable items that came out of that comprehensive plan, and a big part of that was a rewrite of the zoning ordinance, and creation of some special districts and so forth, and just the Center Street project, and that, like, a lot of those ideas came out of the comprehensive plan. The benefit of a good comprehensive plan is it serves as an actionable document that gets outside viewpoints and best practices from all over the nation and can guide your city for the next 10 years. Or you can get a comprehensive plan that fulfills a statutory requirement and sits on the shelf that no one reads and no one looks at and serves no value to the staff or the community. So, in that, so when you think about it in that scheme of things, you know, the $54,000 difference, you know, one project of Hayden's, the bids could come in 53 or 54,000 over or under what you're estimating. So this is something that lasts 10 years. They have a lot of public outreach planned that, you know, that could be a big burden on the staff, but it's my understanding that, like, you know, Wallace has a vision for that. It's not the staff that's trying to come up with ways to engage the public. It's Wallace will lead the direction, and they'll just kind of provide the administrative support to do those public events and so forth. And it's a really great opportunity for the community to voice how they want to see what they want to see happen in the next 10 years.
And they have demonstrated success doing these exact types of plans for other Maryland municipalities, and they're a Maryland-based company. The other two were not. So I really feel strongly that this is going to be a really great thing for our community, and a really great document to guide our efforts. And I think that, you know, you all are welcome. I brought the other proposals that were submitted as well. You are welcome to look through them just to get an idea.
Saved a lot of trees, didn't they?
Yeah. And I can also circulate a digital copy as well if you'd like to look over it between now and next week. But I'm happy to answer any questions.
I was not on council when the last comprehensive plan was put in place. So do you, like in your RFP, do you like give an outline of like the direction you want to go? How much comes from the city and how much comes from the consultant?
So, number one, the state dictates certain elements that have to be in the comprehensive plan. So, you know, housing, community facilities, mineral resources, water resources, everything. So we put together a very specific list of things that we wanted. The Planning Commission also made some special requests for different studies or plans or maps that they would like to see. So we made sure that that was included in the RFP. So we've kind of we put out what we wanted, and all of the applicants were asked to show us what you got. And
what they provide is like, this is the best way to go about it? Like you should do it this way? Or?
So they facilitate all of the public engagement activities. They do the online surveys.
Okay.
They do they would manage a web page to keep the public updated on how this process is going.
I see.
They manage a lot of it. And if you look through this, you can see the kind of information that they put together and the maps that they create. Like this one's from the city of Harrisburg. They did their comprehensive plan. So this is the kind of data that, frankly, we don't really have a whole lot of it. And that's what I was really interested in when I put together the RFP, was getting more concrete data that we can use to inform. I mean, whenever anything goes to the Planning Commission or the Board of Zoning Appeals, this document is what informs our commissioners on the decisions that they're making as far as land use, permissible uses in certain districts. And so it was really important to me that we have a document that's easy for the public to use as well. Because the burden of proof for all of these things lies in the applicant, and unfortunately our current comprehensive plan is so dense and text heavy and not graphically easy to follow along with. It usually ends up just being staff pulling references and coaching these applicants. But so I really think that this is going to be a very good investment in the community.
Cool, thanks.
Questions, concerns?
Gotta get it done.
Yeah?
Yes, we do.
Gotta get it done.
$5 a year after 10 years.
Thanks.
Yeah, yeah.
Bethany, thank you, Bethany.
Thank you.
Do you want me to do this one?
Yeah, sure.
Well, you can do it. You seem surprised.
We just, me and Elizabeth got together and we pulled some estimated costs for water, sewer, all of the utilities that we're gonna be using, in the daycare center. We got with Michael Cohen. We have altered, our old existing HRDC lease agreement for the community center to be applicable for the child care center. I guess the highlights would be that we're looking at a 5-year lease, $1,250 a month, and then we can give you the supplement document that how we came up with that number. And it just, maybe it's pretty basic, but explains how we'll navigate that shared use between HRDC and the city of Frostburg's daycare.
There's 1 day overlap though for exclusive use. The last day, let's see, the first, so the exclusive use, the first day, for HRDC, first day through the last day of the school year, and the city shall have it from the last day of the school year until the first day. So that one's not overlapping, but the first one is.
The HRDC one.
Under the city's you can correct it either way, it doesn't really matter. And I don't think it will really cause any problems, but just in case somebody wants to get really lawyerly.
So, with the CDBG funding, Donnie, we can't make money on
I
this.
understand, but as a business person, I mean, and I've said it since day one, we're getting ripped off on this building. We are paying way too much money to build a building that we're gonna lease out for $1,200 a month. And, I mean, that's my opinion, and
Okay,
that's that.
just as a recap on the budget, 531
31,
is a congressional earmark.
750,
700 and feet, 750 is CDBG,
500 county, or 50,000 for
The county.
county,
50,000 from Allegheny County,
and 158 city, ARPA.
all ARPA.
But it's, I understand that, but what I'm saying is, we're paying $1.5 million for a building that's 3,000 square feet, paying $500 a square foot. There is nothing out there that can't be built for $200 a square foot.
Well,
And I mean, and it's done now. I mean, there's nothing we can do about it. But I've said it since day one.
and if we didn't get the congressional earmark and we were just using ARPA money for it, it would be a glorified pole building. But we had, everything had to be done to standards because of the funding sources. And it's just, this project, I will never disagree with you, Donnie, that it became a lot more expensive than anyone intended it to be. But at the same time, every construction project like this is expensive because every municipality and county got this ARPA money.
Yeah.
And
The end use is wonderful, but, yeah, definitely agree with you business-wise, but
I mean, as a businessman, I'd love to have a $1.5 million building I can lease for
agree with you.
$1,200. You know.
Welcome to the government.
And
But childcare is never going to be like a really big profit-driven business. You know, it's childcare. It's a completely different kind of animal.
That's
it's
why
not
I say
a bit,
the
yeah.
end use is
Yeah.
a thing we need.
And HRDC is nonprofit. Like, I mean, this would be problematic if we were leasing it to one private child care center.
I get it, I get it.
So,
I'm just expressing my opinion. Again.
Grant, yes. Acknowledged.
Is it correct that there's no escalation? in
there is
rent
an
from year to
there is
It's a 3% annual
Oh,
escalation of the cost.
and there is money going into reserves for maintenance. Not reserves, but like an annual set aside for anticipated maintenance costs and stuff. And we only did the first term is 5 years instead of 10 years, just to make sure that the costs are on, so.
You got a change order?
Unfortunately, on the topic of the daycare center, we have change order number 2. We had to, so I guess since we'll go into a little bit of price. So the LVT flooring requested by HRDC for the children, that's going to be just changing it from carpet to LVT will be a slight increase. Allegheny Power is now requiring bollards to protect the meter socket from vehicles. That's an increase. And then the door access controls are also an increase. And we had to switch to shingles because the way that the building was designed with a hot roof, it voided the warranty on the existing shingles that were spec'd. To try to offset that, we went with a generic version of the security system that saved us $3,300, and we got rid of that window and ended up being a $2,100 saving. So after that, it is a increase of $1,981.58 for the change order.
In the grand scheme of things, not much.
You call that value engineering, yes, good job.
Thank you. So if you guys don't have any other questions about that, we'll ask for your approval on the change order at next week's meeting.
All right. Hey.
Yeah, so I have a couple. The first one's a good one, Centennial Hill Pump Station change order. So construction for that job is done. There was a couple of things we ended up not having to do for the pump station. So we have a savings of $18,618. So
Nice.
that's
Nice.
a positive change order back into our pocket. So I would ask for a motion and a second
No, we
on
can't
that.
have that.
If anyone wants details, I can go into it. It's mostly just little odds and ends with sensors and plumbing and stuff. at the
So we
pump
got,
station.
one to scratch off, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I thought he was gonna ask for a raise.
Should have thought of that.
The second one is for the salt building. So as you all know, a year ago we put to bid the salt building, and it came in at a little over $700,000, which was way out of what I was comfortable doing and way out of our budget. So because of that, we had to do a redesign, and with our limited window having to get salt building built in the summer, we had to kick it a full year to now. So over the past year, BB&A has been doing some redesign with me. It's under our procurement threshold, but it is still a change order to our design contract. So $5,672.50. That's just to wrap up the design for BB&A, and that'll fit under our salt building budget. So that would be the change order I would ask for approval on. To go along with that, in the same vein, is the approval for the bid. So our bid came in at $437,000 for the low bid, and that's for basically everything we wanted with the building, staying with the quality of construction we wanted so that it lasts another 30 years, not having to skimp everything down, but effectively cutting out the parts of the building that aren't necessary or were a want but not a need. So now we get all the salt coverage we need, and it should still last as long as we want. That add alternate there for the $162,000, the way we designed it is so that we designed it with one large bay for salt. That add alternate is for the second bay, And the way we designed it is that if in a year's time, 10 years' time, 20 years' time, we can go back and not use the add alternate number at that time, but use the add alternate design to add on to the building if we decide to do a second bay.
And the second phase for the grid.
Correct. So you don't have to cover grit. If it gets rained on and frozen, that's a pain, but we can leave it uncovered and we can get by. The way the design is now is just for salt storage and then the landing pad for everything to be salt resistant and for the longevity of the building. If anyone wants to look at the designs with me or go over the bid package from Lashley, we can do that. But with the bid coming in here and with the redesign, we're running out of time with the old stuff.
Yeah.
So it would be my recommendation to go ahead and if we can get an approval next week, I will cut Lashley loose on Wednesday. So.
Adam? Good. All right, let's go. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you.
So last fall, the mayor and council agreed to hire Percy Public Affairs Rich Rinehardt to be a lobbyist for the city and state at the state level. And so I've been working with Rich for the last several months through legislative session, and he's provided you with the updates as well. He and the mayor and I would have weekly phone calls about various things. Most of what he has helped us with has not been related to the legislative session, although some of it has been. There's, as you know, a gazillion bills introduced this past couple months, and some of them probably from a policy standpoint we wouldn't agree with, but based on the sponsor of the bill and various things, he kind of had a pulse on if it was going to go anywhere, or if it was going to go anywhere, and opposing it was just going to reflect poorly on Frostburg or vice versa. So that, I guess, insight has been very helpful. Relying on him instead of Michael Cohen to vet some of this stuff has been cheaper and probably better in the better interest of the city.
Well, just the idea.
You just said we were recording that.
And besides, you all have met Rich at this point numerous times. It's just it's a great pleasure to travel to Annapolis. He meets us, gets us to where we need to be. We get in front of the people we need to get in front of. That's whether that's a representative or somebody else that we need to talk to about something, and it's not a waste of a day. As well as get in front of Westmore and the whole cabinet for 15-20 minutes because he made the connections with the people. I don't know how we would do that on our own. I really don't. No. So
he's the Lemon County water situation remains unchanged, and so that is something that we expect to continue to have to navigate, and depending on what the outcome in Lemon County is, whether Frostburg needs to make upgrades or anything. So he's brought that to the governor's attention as well as his staff, and so it would be my recommendation to extend this, enter into the remainder of the calendar year contract with Rich and Percy Public Affairs, and his proposal is $14,000 for the remainder of the year, which would get us. He kind of did April for free. He was our lobbyist. He has to be registered, so he was from December 1 through April 30, but April wasn't really, he didn't really charge us for April, he charged us for 4 months, so 14,000 would get us through December 31, May 1. Cumberland, so that's a total of about 20 grand for the year, and I know Cumberland pays more than twice that for their lobbyists, so if there's questions or concerns, happy to talk, but it'd be my recommendation to enter into this contract.
Elaine, you have any heartburn?
I'm hoping he'll help us get the rest of our bond money.
Okay. Everybody okay? Everybody good? Okay.
lastly, brings me great joy to share the Arbor Day festivities
Especially
planned.
where we're going at.
Yes.
Yes.
So, we've kind of been working with a bunch of people this year. The Shade Tree Commission, were able to do the Arbor Day celebration on Arbor Day, not Maryland Arbor Day, but Arbor Day, which is the last Friday of April the 26th. We're going to have it at the flower bed in front of the post office. We've already, with the post office's permission, removed the dreadful Bradford pears that were there, and they are allowing us, the garden club had requested some attention to that area, so following through on their requests, we will plant some new native flowering small stature trees there on Arbor Day. So Dan, our Forest Service, will be there with our Shade Tree Commission, and we will have preschoolers joining us as well, singing a tree-themed song.
That's wonderful.
I love it.
And there may be some tree-shaped cookies. So the event's open to the public. It should be a good time. I have a track record of Arbor Day being the worst weather you could possibly imagine in April. Hopefully it's better this year. But if you were able to attend, the 10:30 time was to accommodate the preschool schedule before nap time and all that. So if you were able to attend, that would be lovely.
Yeah. Cool.
And so the plan will be that you will if issued a proclamation at your council meeting, but then it can be presented to someone that day as well. So,
Sound good?
yeah.
All right.
And it's a special year because this school, you just received your 10th year designation as Tree City USA. So there's a special flag that maybe we can get the post office to fly for the 10th year
Yeah.
Yeah.
and all that.
Cool.
So, thank
Okay.
you. I just have one item for discussion. Several years ago, 2018, well prior to this, the city purchased land up by Savage Springs and Wells. A small farm went for sale, and in the interest of source water protection, the city purchased that property. There was a house on the property, so the city ended up subdividing off a 4.7 acre parcel that had the house and an outbuilding or two on it, and selling that, and it was sold in 2018. When it was sold, the city included deed covenants, and those deed covenants included the property may only be used as a residence for a single family, no more than one working well can be installed on the property, no multifamily, commercial, or industrial use will be permitted, and no livestock, horses, sheep, goats, llamas, alpacas, camels, poultry, hogs, swine, or other farm animal of any kind shall be kept on the property unless written permission therefore is granted by the city. Said permission to be granted or withheld for any reason at all. This provision shall be interpreted to prohibit animals that generate manure which could contaminate area water resources. Shall not be interpreted to prohibit the keeping of household pets like dogs, cats, parrots, and songbirds. The end. So it's a deed covenant, not zoning or anything like that. So fast forward to today, and I've received a letter from Dylan and Sarah Simons, and I'll read that to you. Hello, please first allow us to introduce ourselves. We are Dylan and Sarah Simons, and we are both business owners in Allegheny County. Sarah is a family and newborn photographer who has been in business for 7 years now, and Dylan is an electrician and has been for 10 years. We have a small growing family and have been searching for a piece of property near Frostburg, Maryland for some time. We are drawn to Frostburg for many reasons, the community being at the top of the list. We love that this property allows us to be close to Frostburg but be more on the countryside. We have a 4-year-old daughter who, like ourselves, enjoys 4-H, so we do have 2 pet dwarf goats and 4 chickens. However, we do, however, want the ability to get her a horse if that opportunity ever comes about. We are hoping to get approval and ensure that this property can provide these future things we plan and have do one day, such as a 25 by 30 foot building for use as a photography business, and also the option for animals above to live on the land with us. We feel it is important to note that we will only have one single family dwelling and do not have plans to become a working farm with multiple cattle or a ton of different livestock. Just a few farm animals such as the 4 chickens, mini goats, and possibility of 1 horse. Thank you for your time and consideration. So Hayden and I discussed it. I don't think the outbuilding that would be used as a home occupation is any violation of the covenants, and they would have to defer to Garrett County zoning for the permits for that. But in terms of the covenants, we don't have an issue, with that outbuilding being built. And if you're agreeable to it, Hayden and I did not have any concerns to put express permission in writing about, 6 chickens, 4 mini goats, and 2 horses. There's other active farms in close proximity, and we don't think that a small number of hobby animals would impact the water quality.
This is downstream from the wells, isn't it?
I was gonna say, we
Yes.
pull our water from above it anyways.
Yeah, it is.
So including that little stream that runs through there?
Yeah,
That's
it's
still
downstream.
downstream?
It runs right behind the property.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, is this gonna open up a door though for,
No, because we can withhold it at any time, so, if we have our water, MES is up there inspecting the checking the springs on a daily basis, so it's not like it doesn't go unmonitored. You have to drive past this property to get in there, and, we could put something in the letter that if you ever exceed this certain number of animals, we're gonna revoke your privileges.
The exception.
yeah.
Would we want to though, so one I'm thinking of is Trout Unlimited and River Keepers and all that would be concerned about manure and stuff going into, river. And so we don't want them mad at us. So would we want to ask them to fence off from a certain certain distance from the water source?
Like a setback almost.
Yeah, like a setback,
There's already a horse farm upstream.
which, we have no control over.
Right. Hey, could you reach out to Mark and just see if he makes a suggestion, educated guess, 20 feet? That'd be a filter.
Yeah.
Not
Ground
that
filter.
little.
Yeah, I can,
If it went
I
there.
can put together some better estimates.
Yeah, let's,
What about putting something in there too that one of our city employees or somebody could go up there and just look at it every now and then to make sure they're not, getting an overabundance of animals in there, I think.
So the property, this isn't super clear, but maybe by fencing their property line, it may be a far enough setback from the stream, as long as
We own the property all around them.
Pardon?
We own most of the property around them.
the state of Maryland and the city own all the property around them, so.
if you could just have an answer for us by next week.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I'm see why we couldn't
Yeah.
move forward.
I can probably have one for you by tomorrow morning.
Just send us an email, let us know.
And I could have Michael Cohen write the letter so that it's got
Clear,
teeth.
eminently clear,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's got teeth.
Mhm.
And what's the standard stream setback, 25 or 50? 50 feet from the stream.
Depends on the watershed. If it's
Yeah.
400 feet, it's 50. If
Depends
it's
on-
less than 400, it's
Depends on
25.
grades too.
Yeah.
And that grades, those grades that are flat.
I know there was, I haven't been up there in a while, but I know there's, you know, a good many pine trees on the back end of that property too,
Yeah,
right
there
by
are.
the stream there, yeah.
Yeah, just we do our due diligence.
You can use that language, nuisance. If it becomes a nuisance, then, like if they're not cleaning up
Yeah.
feces, manure, whatever.
I just think maybe like a yearly,
Inspection.
yes.
I mean, we're by there every day anyways, so
Right.
it's not, it wouldn't be hard to figure out if stuff is getting out of hand.
Right, but you know, I'm just saying, like, you know,
Yeah.
to give us access to, if they're gonna build this big building, you know, I mean, yeah,
We should peek in.
yes.
Yeah. I think that's reasonable.
Okay, extreme setback, yearly inspection. Revoked at any time.
And if you get an MES report that there's a problem, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, 3 or 4 things. All right, general discussions. Anybody have any sort of general discussion for a work session this evening?
I have two super quick ones.
Okay.
Just for you guys to think about. So Shane was adamant when we talked today about, now with bulk pickup coming up here in the next couple weeks, he wanted to just float the idea past everyone so you guys, for next year, bulk pickup this year stays the same way, but for next year, he wanted to float the idea to all of you to start feeling out the city. If we could do away with bulk pickup week and move it to everybody, every residence in Frostburg, every such and such person gets a bulk pickup ticket that they can put in for. This Shane's idea, something he wanted to do. That way, instead of having 1 week of bulk pickup, person at 151 Main Street comes in and says, I'm cashing in my bulk pickup ticket
Coupon.
coupon. Can you please come get it? This is the date it'll be here. Can you come get it?
What are the scrappers gonna do?
Well, so whenever we have a big
Holiday.
whenever someone needs a big loadout on like a Thursday night or for a Wednesday night for a Thursday morning, the pickers come get it anyway. So, but Shane was adamant about it that he hates bulk pickup week and that it just kind of overworks our whole staff. It would be a lot easier. And when we do bulk pickup, we do it kind of before half of the college houses are moved out anyways, and then they put all their stuff out, and we end up bulk picking up all those houses anyways. So, that was Shane's idea, just something to think about over the next year.
I mean, I do understand that because we give away a whole week
Yeah.
and it sometimes spills in the next week.
Well, I mean, we pick up trash on 3 different days anyway. We could break it up into 3 different bulk pickups too, you know, if it's too much of a burden, you know, to do, you know.
At the
I
end
mean,
of at the end of the day, if it doesn't change, but Shane was adamant about me talking to everybody about it.
It's not as big of a deal right now because we have 2 functioning garbage trucks, but when we don't have the garbage trucks and we're using the loader to load the dump trucks, it's
awful.
it's dangerous because it's not the ideal way to do it. You have a lot of people around loader buckets that don't need to be dumping from the dump truck is problematic.
This way, if we did it where everybody just gets 1 coupon a year, we would just do it during normal trash service. It'd be the trash crew. Pick up that 1 bulk load and go on to the next time.
They could call the street department and schedule it directly almost and just, it'd be their normal day. Like we wouldn't be going out again. We'd just say, okay, you're a Wednesday, we'll be there Wednesday kind of thing.
So just something to think about. The second one, Emily, let all you guys know about the Pawnee Reservoir Fishing Pier. Well, Garrett County, the group who paid for it, they have sent out their invite list and have been hearing back from some individuals. And granted, I think take this with a grain of salt because I think it's just a political scheme. But like that invite went to senators and the governor, and some senators' offices are replying back that yeah, we'll be there.
It's state money, Hayden, so they're
Yeah.
allowed to be there.
So-
We're supposed to be there.
So it's I think 1:30 on that date, but if
Yes.
anybody wants to go and talk to, there's a lot. So if we're not 100%, we weren't expecting it to be this big, but Emily and I are talking about what we're gonna do for it.
I'm providing Emily with some guidance.
Yeah.
I don't wanna slam her with it.
So
weight restriction on this?
It's pretty stout. But just for your guys' sake, we're trying to nail down the actual attendee list of who will be there, and we'll send that to you all.
Okay.
But could be some influential people there. Not sure.
Will there be fish-shaped cookies?
I'll ask you.
We've got some things in the works.
Sardines.
No.
Sardines. Lovely.
Freshwater sardines.
Not the, I know during the week it's 3 days.
Three separate.
3 separate weeks, or
Yeah.
I need to start changing that to general discussion, mayor and council plus Hayden.
Just floating ideas about it.
Just floating that idea. All right, anybody else?
Thanks for getting the work underway on Centennial.
Yeah, we're moving along on that
Yeah.
now. So maybe the first big hurdle was the tie-in to the main. That was yesterday. So now we can start ripping. So
And they're good at ripping.
we're good.
All right, thanks, y'all. Jeff, thank you for coming this evening.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Appreciate
It
it.
was a
Always
pleasure. It was a
appreciate it.
pleasure. You guys had fun.
Oh, we do?
We do.
We're a fun bunch. And we're
You're
done.
like that. That's.
That was in case he wasn't awake.
It was a stop having
Mayor,
fun
if I could
alarm.
ask you to have someone read the closing
my other
statement,
activity, my
please.
other meeting.
I can
All right.
read it if you want.
I'm good. All right, staff, and Jeff. We got one other thing to do, and you all have to vacate. So thank you all very much. Have a good evening. Jeff, thanks again. Elaine, thanks for everything. Closing statement on the Annotated Code of Maryland, Article 3, 305. There's one. A closed session may be held to discuss the appointment, employment, assignment, promotion, discipline, demotion, removal, resignation, or performance evaluation of appointees, employees, or officials over who the public body has jurisdiction. A closed session is needed to review specific individual employee salary increase proposed. Need a motion second to go into closed session.
I move we go into closed session.
Second. Move a second. All in favor?